last session of this chapter, that is population ecology. And in this part, we will study human population growth. As you know, that sustainability of resources on this planet is one of the major issue population. The current existing resources on this planet are not sufficient to support this mega population. We, being human being, we have invented different gadgets in the field of agriculture, in the field of medical sciences, and in the field of communication. That's why we have protected human from early deaths. That's why during last 300 years, we are experiencing alarming high rate of human growth, which raised from 1 billion to more than 7 billion population. Human population growth, in connection to the previous lecture, there are two types of animals. R-selected animals and K-selected animal. Man is included among K-selected animals because we have smaller brood size, one or two young ones per litter. Late reproduction, normally married after the age of 20, high degree of parental care in case of human young ones are quite helpless at the time of birth. Gradually, parents protect them, feed them, educate them, and provide medicine, and ultimately help them to establish within the community. K-selected life history was evolved in the case of early hominids. In African Rift Valley, on eastern side, evolution of man was started. That is another topic which we will later discuss in other lectures. There were limited resources available to the early hominids population, and there was a stress of predation from the carnivore, big carnivore animals, and man, for its protection, started the process of bipedalism. In early history, human population was regulated by the availability of food. At that time, cereals were very limited, and mainly man was feeding on animals and fruits. Later on, man started to domesticate the plants and animals. At early stages, food availability, disease, and predators were regulating the human population. And now we have controlled over all these problems on availability of food, diseases, predators. There are several factors like flood. We have controlled floods, plague, drought, and we have adapted such pattern of life in which natural calamities and other wild animals cannot harm the human population. In early stages, till 1708, human population was growing slowly, and that type of growth was the logistic growth. With the passage of time, we increase the production of agriculture. We protect the human from different kinds of diseases. We develop antibiotics for the control of different bacterial diseases. And now we have latest and sophisticated equipments for surgery and communication, which help us to protect the human life from early deaths. This is the human population growth. You can say 400 years before Christ, human population on this planet was approximately 100 million individuals on the planet. That population was quite sustained during the period of history. In 15th century, there was bubonic plague, which was also known as Black Death. And during this episode of plague, human population was badly affected, and there was a slight depression in the curve at that time. Because of that, millions of human lives were affected during this plague episode. 2000 years ago, human population was about 130 million on this planet, which was quite manageable for the nature on this planet. And later on, it was reached to 500 million human individuals, and further human population was abruptly increased due to several advancement in the technology. Human population resemble to many species which are predominantly case-selected populations. After 1650, what will happen? There was industrial revolution, and we have controlled the diseases. Medical facilities were available to the most of individuals on the planet. And after that, what happened? Human population growth curve, which was sigmoid or logistic growth, once again convert into J-shaped curve, that is exponential growth. This was happened because we have increased the production of agriculture and protect the individual from diseases, and to provide the food all over the world, we have developed a strong communication network. Nowadays, we can send food to every part of the world within 24 hours after any natural disaster. So human population nowadays growing exponentially because of man has controlled the environmental factors, and that's why since last 300 years human population is growing exponentially. So now the birth rate is gradually decreasing. At that time, 300 years ago, there was 30 individuals births per 1,000 individuals every year. And at that time, the death rate was 20 individuals per 1,000. With the help of medical science, agriculture, and communication technologies and industry, we become successful to reduce the death rate from 20 to 13 individuals per. After controlling this, what happened? The difference between birth rate and death rate was widened, and this balance was, you can say, into the favor of birth rate. That's why now our planet is hosting more than 7 billion people. In past, growth rate was about 4%, which was decreased to 2%, and now it has been declined to 1.1% per year. But still in developing countries like Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Kenya, and other African countries, this growth rate is still around 2. According to this growth rate, 75 million peoples every year added in the human population. So every year we are adding 75 million people on the planet. That's why in next 63 years, human population will become double on this planet. If we look at the current population level and projections about the future human population on this planet and its consequences on environmental resources, these are quite alarming. Human population pyramids show birth and death rates. Before studying human pyramids, we have to study projected population growth in 2050. There will be maximum population in Asia. Asia, as you know, China, India, Far East countries, Pakistan, Iran, Saudi Arabia, all these countries are included in Asia. Highest population will be in Asia. It will be followed by Africa, then Europe, North America, and South America. Minimum population increase will be reported from Australia. Australia, you know, is occupied by Europeans. Now, most of the inhabitants of Australia belong to Europe. So, Africa and Asia still thickly populated areas, and these areas have more potential for human population growth. Some countries of Europe are showing negative growth. You can observe these are the human population pyramids, and in this case, we have the example of two countries, Kenya and Sweden. You know about Sweden. Sweden is a Scandinavian and European country where population trend is moving towards negative figures. Whereas in Kenya, you can observe the population is highly growing. Human population pyramids, we have to study the basic features of such pyramids. We have different age group. First age group from 0 to 4 years, then 5 to 9, then 10 to 14, and last one 100 plus. Male are represented by blue color, and females are represented by a pink color. So you can observe male and female ratio at different age group. And in such populations where a similar trend observed between the population of different age groups, such populations are considered as stable population. But in case of Sweden, in this country is moving towards the negative because number of birth and young individuals up to 20 years, their number is quite less as compared to the individual having life more than 20 years. In comparison to the Sweden, we are moving towards the Kenya, and in Kenya, age group 0 to 4, maximum number of individuals present in first 3 group. It means individuals living in such countries are less than 20 years are abundant. And moving towards the upper and old individuals are less as compared to the Sweden. You can observe the life expectancy in this pyramid, and in Sweden, the average life you can observe from this pyramid is high, whereas in Kenya, the average lifespan of human individuals are very limited. So you can say 80 years, 60 years. These are the approximate figures. You can confirm such figures from different online resources. Human population, as you know, male and female individuals, and these two genders are the essential part of human population. In most of the countries, life of male and females' life expectancy is more as compared to the male. और तो वर्ल्ड पॉपुलेशन को हम देखते हैं कि अब तक 1965 से लेकर 70 तक ग्रोथ रेट 2% था. It was recorded in 2015. It was 1.1%. But in case of developing countries, still alarming. This is the human future growth. And one thing keep in your mind, our future growth is uncertain because many countries devoted attention to slowing the growth rate of their populations. And there are some tremendous and genuine signs of birth control. You can observe the example of population of Bangladesh and Pakistan. Before 90s, population of Bangladesh was more than West Pakistan. But now they have controlled their population, and our population in Pakistan has been increased as compared to the Bangladesh. So such developing countries have some social, religious, and cultural issues for the controlling of population. But anyhow, no, most of the countries trying to reduce the human population. If you look at this graph, this is human population in billions, and you can observe the time from 1900 to 2050. Developed countries have managed their population, and this population is, you can say, at stable stage. Whereas as facilities, industries, and communication network move towards the developing country, and developing countries are urging and moving towards the fast development. You can say they are now enjoying such facilities, and people living in developing countries now also start to educate themselves for family planning. If such programs become successful to reduce the human fertility, if we fail to manage the human population, then it will rise to 11 billion in 2055. So that this is the time we have to manage our strategy to reduce the stress on the planet, because this planet has limited capacity, and under this limited capacity we can grow our population. Otherwise, if the population growth rate remains same, and it will continue for the depletion of environmental resources and on this planet. And future generations will never forgive us that we have consumed resources of their part. For example, we have planning programs in developing countries like Kenya and Pakistan. In Kenya, that program was quite successful, and family planners and managers become successful to reduce it from 8 to 4.5 children per couple. And now this population growth rate reduced to 2.4 per year. And in this regard, Pakistani government, with the help of United Nations and other developed countries, also launched several programs to control the human population. The basic purpose for the management of human population is to provide, consume the resources of future generation, because the future generation have the same right as we own the resources of this planet. Such global populations may stabilize about 8 billion people in the mid of current century, but this totally depend upon the global joint efforts to control and manage the population. If the current growth rate of population remain unchanged, definitely the environmental resources of this planet will not support human population. This table, in which we make comparison United States, Brazil, and Ethiopia. Fertility rate 1.9 in United States, 1.8 in Brazil, and 4.6 in Ethiopia. These three countries belonging to different economic classes. Infant mortality rate 6 in United States and 56 in Ethiopia. It means in Ethiopia it is quite alarming. Life expectancy 79, or you can say 80 years in United States and 63 years in Kenya. Similarly, you can observe the per capita income of individuals in United States. That is less in case of Ethiopia. Population under 15 years, 20 in United States, and highest in Ethiopia. Basically, human is a most wise and selfish species. Using its intelligence, this species is exploiting maximum environmental resources on the planet. That's why during the exploitation of environmental resources, we also observe disparity among different nations. One of the big disparity, that is developed countries are exploiting more and more resources, and developing countries exploit limited resources. For this purpose, have developed ecological footprints of individuals in different countries. On the basis of this ecological footprinting, we can estimate the resources available and exploited by the individual living in these countries. Observe on the y-axis acres of land required to support an individual at the standard of living of population. In the United States, that land is quite available in large scale. That is 23.2 acres per individual. And whereas it reduced in Germany, and then Brazil, then Nigeria 3.2, 2.2 in Indonesia, and 2.2 in India. Similarly, we have 2.2 in Pakistan, because we have also dense population, which is an alarming situation for the future progress of. In this figure, we have studied available land per individuals in a country, and similarly forest resources, agricultural resources, and carbon dioxide production, fossil fuel production. All these are included in the ecological footprint. In this figure, we have studied ecological impact. In United States, people are consuming more resources, natural resources like fertile land and you can say a space for living and roads and other facilities. Similarly, if we make a comparison between ecological footprint of United States and India, you can observe there is 10 times more resource utilization in case of United States. In case of United States, you can observe people are utilizing more and more resources. But apart from this, we have in Pakistan and in India, Bangladesh, all South Asian countries, population is dense population, and it's not an easy job to provide facilities to the every individuals. Now, there is a different colonial system that has been developed as a result of globalization. These developing countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and other Far East countries, these are the big market for the developed countries. Developed countries develop their products and sell their products in these countries to get maximum profit. That's why different companies from Europe and United States and China are investing and competing each other to grab maximum resources of developing world. So consumption of resources in developed world, that developed world is consuming more resources as compared to the less developed countries. If we study the present statistics which calculated by different researches for the resource utilization by man, our population is 3 times greater than the amount of natural resources that can be sustainable on this planet. Moreover, consumption of resources in developing countries is increasing day by day. You can observe the expansion of urbanization and housing colonies in Lahore. In 2000, the area of Lahore was quite small, and nowadays it expanded to 3 to 4 times than the previous area of Lahore. So there is a need for the building of sustainable world, which is the most important task of humanity future. We have to provide quality of life to our children and future generation, and it is only possible when there is limited human population, and we can provide education, health facilities, and other facilities to our future generation if there is a low population. If there is high population, what will happen in dense population? As you have studied in case of rodents, rodents become antisocial when there is a dense population. So similar in case of human population, if there is a dense population, street crime and other social evils will prevail in the society, and there will be less tolerance, blood pressure, hypertension, and diabetes, such problems which are resulted as a stress and will prevail frequently. So this is our moral responsibility. This is the blue planet, only planet which is a living planet in this universe. We are the wise and latest comer species on this planet. This is our responsibility to protect the environmental resources and other species which were pre-existing on this planet. So this is the voice of all endangered species and message to the man, please do something for the conservation of such speechless species. Being student of environmental sciences, it is our moral obligation to think about the environmental resources and spread the voice of speechless species for their conservation and protection.
सर इसको थोड़ा सा एक्सप्लेन कर दें दोबारा यहाँ पे
लो फर्टिलिटी हाई फर्टिलिटी कैसे नंबर ऑफ पॉपुलेशन पे कैसे डिपेंड करेगी ये बता
There are three options. If we become successful to control the population of developing countries, definitely we will have an low fertility curve line, and our population will maintain less than 8 billion. Whereas such efforts fail and the growth rate remains unchanged, then there will be high fertility. फिर बरकरार रहेगी तो फिर यहाँ पे क्या होगा, हमारी पॉपुलेशन 2055-60 तक जाके 11 बिलियन हो जाएगी. अगर ये मॉडरेट लेवल रहता है, कुछ एफर्ट्स सक्सेसफुल होती हैं, कहीं पे सक्सेस नहीं होती, तो फिर हमारी पॉपुलेशन जो है ये 2055 और 60 में अबाउट 9 बिलियन होगी. तो ये टोटली अब डिपेंड करता है ह्यूमन बिहेवियर पे कि इसको हमने पॉपुलेशन को किस तरह मैनेज करना है.
सर ये जो पिरामिड्स है ना स्वीडन, ये सर वो रिपीट करते हैं.
इन स्वीडन पॉपुलेशन less than 20 years, population showing decreasing trend as compared to you can observe this is the difference between the individual, that is 3, and in adult it is about 4. It means in case of Sweden population, less number of young ones are added to the population, whereas there is a big adults population, which indicates that in past their growth rate was high, but now they have decreased. And life quality in Sweden is comparatively high as compared to the Kenya. In case of Kenya, we can observe 7% population living in Kenya about 4 years. If we look at the adults, the number of adults is comparatively less. Why this is less? Due to diseases and natural calamities reduce the population of adults. But now this population of Kenya is a growing population, whereas the population of Sweden is decreasing population. And we need in this regard a sustainable and viable, stable population for the future of planet.